Cade Cunningham returned in a loss against the Grizzlies, 109-103. We saw some flashes from Asar Thompson, some other players. We're going to get a little bit into the game. We're going to be talking about a few things. Down on the ticker at the bottom has all the topics. This is the third new format we're trying. Let's see if this one sticks. But we have Brennan Sims, fantastic blog writer. What's going on, man? How are you doing? What's new? How do you enjoy the game? I'm asking you so many questions. What's good?
What's going on, man? It was a good game. Memphis prevailed without Ja. They played a different style of basketball in that one, so that was interesting to see them prevail. And they kind of in the mix for that the Western Conference play-in, trying to get out of the play-in. So that was a big win for them. But the Pistons, it was a loss, but they are still steady. They made the playoffs already, so they're still steady, still going steady.
Yeah, and we had a little hiatus in recording, but we are back, and the Pistons, like you said, are locked into the playoffs, not the play-in, after winning 14 games. And this isn't on the show sheet at all, but what does that mean to you? Like, when you think of the turnaround this Pistons team has had, what is your first thought?
Honestly, I think it's the greatest turnaround in NBA history. And watching the game today, I saw the graphic that said all the best turnarounds, Kevin Garnett going to Boston, Larry Bird coming to Boston. And like they said on the broadcast, the Pistons did it without adding a Hall of Famer. Like honestly, Cade got better, but you just put competent pieces around him and a coach that cares about winning games. So tripling the win total, beyond tripling it, is just we haven't seen a turnaround like this, honestly.
It's crazy because, like you said, they didn't add a Hall of Famer, and they didn't add any like super significant starters. I mean, when you're looking at their starting unit, yes, Tobias Harris, you have Tim Hardaway Jr., who everyone hated coming in.
Right, I was one of them. Sorry.
Oh, I wasn't. You can go back and look at my tweets, man. I was all for it. You needed those old guys around, but not to rag on you too
Yeah.
much. But they added Malik Beasley as well. But it's not like they added some even fringe all-star guy. I mean, Tobias Harris, like
Right.
looking back, everyone's like, oh, what a great signing. A lot of people hated that one too. They said that's a lot of money for a guy who did what he did in Philly. So it's just an amazing turnaround for this team, and they're not even close to being finished yet. We're going to be getting into what's next for this Pistons teams or what could be next over the next few years in our next part. But talking about this Memphis game again, Asar Thompson was a guy all over the floor. I mean, filling up the stat sheet. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, a block. He's always going to get 2 stocks a game. Doesn't matter if it's 2
For
blocks,
sure.
2 steals, or one of each. He is a threat everywhere. I mean, Asar is one of the best athletes I've ever seen. It doesn't even count just basketball. If you're talking football, if you're talking baseball, if you're talking hockey, and I don't know what kind of athletes there are in hockey, it feels like it's just kind of a up and down sport. So, Asar Thompson, man, what are you seeing from him?
I think another key stat today was the zero turnovers.
Yeah.
Asar, like you said, he does everything. So now at this point, we just kind of can focus on like how he can grow. Obviously, shooting. I don't think he'll ever be a great shooter, maybe never even a good shooter, but that's obviously an aspect he needs to grow in. But the handle was kind of up and down at times. So seeing today, seeing how he like kind of controlled the pace a little bit on the getting the rebound and going and not turning it over was great. It was 2 possessions in the second quarter where the defense is just phenomenal. Like the on ball defense, the pressure, the recovery is crazy. Like players do snatchbacks and like you can shift Asar and he's immediately coming back up to pressure you. Like it's no hesitation, immediately coming back to pressure you. So did that a few times in the second quarter. Got some steals. Someone get to Stu for a three.
Mhm.
Love seeing Stu make threes. Love that so much. Another possession, he got the board and gave it to Cade for the three. So it's just the offensive rebounds tonight was super impressive. His potential as a role man being that versatile is so promising too. Like he is a wing, kind of like a 3-4, but he obviously can run a pick and roll as a ball handler or as the roller. So potential is through the roof, man. And, tonight was a great game, gearing up for the playoffs. Tonight is how he has to play in the playoffs. Like his teams, they won't guard him for three, so you have to make an impact in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, Asar is a case of a guy who struggled as of recent. He wasn't looking great, and he was losing a lot of minutes to even Ron Holland, who, and I don't want to say even Ron Holland. Ron was playing great himself. But with Asar Thompson, this was a game you needed to see from him because he has that potential to average 15, 8, and 5. I mean, right now he's at 9.9, 5.0 rebounds, and 2.2 assists. I mean, those are going to drastically increase next year after a healthy offseason. So, okay. Desmond Bane killed our team. And it seems like he's one of those Pistons killers. What does he do that kind of makes this happen every time? How does he play? What are the things that he does?
Yeah, so like I said on the broadcast, they said it earlier that he had 48 last year, and no coincidence, John Morant wasn't playing. Desmond Bane, sitting here talking to you out loud, he might be like a Jalen Brunson type, as in when Brunson was in Dallas, when Luka didn't play, he went off, and you saw it every single time. But when Luka came back, he kind of worked his way back into the offense, and Brunson was just like a cool player. But without Luka, he put up all-star numbers. Desmond Bane might be a similar player. I'm not ever saying that you want to break up what Memphis has going on because they're so young and you want to see that develop. But Desmond Bane, man, as a sharpshooter, you got to get up. And today, the way he was snaking the pick and rolls, kind of getting into the middle of the floor and knocking on the mid range, especially in the clutch, it's just so hard to defend. Now, a lot of possessions he did have Hardaway on him or Beasley, and that's not the best matchup from the Pistons' perspective. But I mean, Desmond Bane, he can get downhill. The playmaking has jumped a lot this year. I think he's averaging like 5 point something assists, a career high. He was doing it last year too. Like his off the dribble game has gotten a lot better over the years. But I just think Memphis putting the ball more in his hands, he just keeps getting activated, and so that is going to be a tough team. I know the West is super loaded, but that's not going to be an easy out. Like you got to beat them. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah, that feels like a team that year after year expectations keep getting higher, and it seems like they dropped off a little bit this year, but they still have a really good team. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons for the drop off, especially considering what happened last year with injuries, suspensions, all of that. I mean, there was going to be regression. But Detroit didn't win all of the effort stats that they usually do. I mean, you're looking at fast break scoring, 25 points for Detroit. Can you guess how many Memphis had just from watching that? Yep, 2. That is crazy.
I mean, that's they played so different today, and it's mainly because Ja wasn't there. But to see them only have 2 fast break points and still pull it out, and Detroit having 25, that's playoff basketball.
Oh,
That was a
100%.
defensive. That was a gritty defensive game too. That was a gritty, grimy game.
And from Desmond Bane having 38 on a game where you only have 2 fast break points, you're not getting easy threes where you're going to be wide open off the fast break. That just shows an elite scorer to me. I mean, people want to talk about good fits for the Pistons. I think he'd be a really good fit here. And I know that means that some players would have to leave, and I don't want to cause any trouble today, so we won't talk about who those players would be. But, I mean, second chance points, Detroit loses 23-12. That's one stat. Detroit seems to win quite a bit, but Detroit was out-rebounded tonight.
The Pistons were just so undersized today. So undersized. Zach Edey, 7'4", biggest player in the league. Jaren Jackson is not known for rebounding, but he's not a small player. 6'11", 6'10", somewhere in there. And then Jay Huff in the backup center. Jalen Wells is a 6'8", small forward for them, and Aldama comes in. Aldama like 6'9", so that is a large team. I kind of didn't really factor that in when I did my pregame preview for Detroit Bad Boys today. I kind of talked about how maybe they could force the Grizzlies to go small if you got Jaren in foul trouble, because Jaren is always in foul trouble. But I really didn't factor in that Memphis is so big everywhere. So like I said, if Duran would have played, it would have been different. But we're kind of really lasering in on the Pacers and the Knicks right now, and I do think Duran can kind of dominate the glass against Indiana. That front court isn't small because Siakam is, 6'9" ish, and Turner is 6'11". Very finesse though. Miles Turner is very finesse, and then Cat for the Knicks, he is a finesse player too, but he grabs a lot of boards. But I don't think that he'll dominate Duran. So Duran using his strength, hitting first, boxing out that way, actually putting the forearm in somebody, getting low, make sure you keep your eyes on the rim at the same time. Those are ways he can continue to, use that strength and that positioning in the playoffs. But yeah, I think that the Pacers matchup, we'll see a lot more success rebounding wise if that's where we end up going.
Yeah, and I mean, when you do have Isaiah Stewart against a Zach Edey, it's going to end up in a large rebounding deficit. And it is good to know that when we get to the playoffs against some of those bigger dudes, we will have Jalen Duren, hopefully. So that's going to
Yeah,
be a good thing to look forward to.
yeah. Did Stu have a double double tonight?
Nope, he had 8 rebounds, so 16 and 8. Good offensive night.
Yeah,
2 4 from three.
right. I was gonna say the 3-pointer was looking good, but it was a lot of plays. I think 3 plays that I noticed where he tried to take Jaren Jackson off the dribble, kind of lost it off his foot. Those plays they didn't shift the game or anything like that, but just I noticed that a little bit. Him trying kind of trying to create, which is you like to see that,
Yeah.
especially this late in the season in a game that I'm not saying it doesn't matter because the Pistons should be trying to win as many games as possible, but some people have a theory that they want to go against the Knicks. So it's kind of like some people feel like tonight's game didn't really matter. But yeah, Stu being undersized like that, it's kind of that's why I don't think Stu is a starting center. He's a
Yeah.
culture guy, love him. I never want to trade him. I want him to be the backup for life. But as a starting center, he kind of give up a lot of height.
Mm-hmm.
So those spurt minutes where he can come in and dominate the rim as a rim protector. That's what I like to see the most from Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, and when you're talking about playoffs, there might be situations where Duran starts, but Isaiah Stewart is the one to finish the games or even start second halves because, I mean, the playoffs is a game where the game gets smaller and smaller every single year. I mean, it was 3 years ago, 3 years ago, where the tallest center left in the playoffs in the Western or in the second round was Kevon Looney, 6'8", or something like. There was some crazy stat where it's like there were only 6'8" centers left in the playoff.
So that must have been 2022 with like Boston, Robert Williams, Bam, Mavericks, and Kevon Looney. You said second round, right?
Or it might have been, was it Western Conference? I can't remember what it was, so I didn't even research this before I said it.
No,
But it
yeah,
was something crazy because it was like Dwight Powell
yep,
at that point, and then I don't remember the other team who would have been in
yeah.
the East.
I mean, 2022, it was Robert Williams for Boston, Bam for Miami, Kevon Looney for the Warriors, and Dwight Powell for the Mavericks.
Yeah, crazy
So
stat.
that,
And
yeah, that
Isaiah
might that might
Stewart,
have been it,
6'8". So
right?
obviously Duran would get a lot of those minutes in those key situations. But I mean, when the game slows down and they're not going to guard him on the 3-point line, you do need a guy who can stretch the floor. But in Isaiah Stewart, not just can stretch the floor, but he can play the defense as well at an elite level.
Yeah, and the playoffs are all about matchups. So sometimes you might go into a series thinking this is what we want to do, but you quickly find out, oh, that target point will not be able to be hit, so we got to switch. We got to switch the program up. So you never know.
Yeah.
Stu might be a better option versus some teams.
And hopefully we have Stu, like you said, for years to come. But we're going to be moving on to the next point. So are the Pistons a top 6 lock for years to come? And where we're talking about a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference. We're talking about Cleveland, they're young. Boston, they're young, but they have some money issues coming up, new ownership potentially, or actually that's happening. So
That's a good point. That's a good
what
point.
are they going to have to do? Are they going to have to split it up? New York is one of those teams where they're getting older, but they're still in their prime. So it seems like they're a lock to be a good basketball team. Indiana's young. Milwaukee has Giannis for now. But
For
then
now.
you get to Detroit, and that's the top 6 seeds. What do you have after that? You have a young Orlando Magic team who was a top 6 seed last year. A lot of injuries derailed them. You have Atlanta Hawks who have Trae Young, but they also have the this year's number 1 pick. You have the Chicago Bulls with Montas Buzelis. They're getting better. Miami is always going to be a shot to be there because of their location, because of the culture that they've built. Toronto, they locked into all those guys. Brooklyn has all those picks. Philly has Embiid. I mean, you can talk about Charlotte or Washington. I mean, I don't think they're close to that point.
Not yet.
So
Not yet.
so looking at these teams, I mean, do you think Detroit has a reasonable bet to be a top 6 team for the years to come?
Yeah, I do. I do, especially with the nucleus they have right now. And I'm just so high on Asar and Ron that they'll get better. Obviously, Cade is already an MVP candidate, so he'll get better too. So I think with the nucleus you have now, you're in good shape. But the rest of the East, I do think that the Magic are like a point guard away from being a serious problem,
Hmm.
especially with the way Paolo is playing lately. Paolo has really embraced his big body. Now he's still gonna take those mid-range shots, but he is putting his head down against the rim and being like a paint beast as of late. So I think Orlando is like a guard away from being a serious problem. And Franz is like just such an amazing like plug-in player. Like Franz basically has no flaws when that three-point shot finally returns. Maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't, but even without it, I think Franz is a great player. Boston and the money problems. That was a great point because while I do think Tatum can probably do more if they need to like tear down the roster a bit, like if they can't keep Drew and Porzingis, I think Tatum can do more. But Boston is so dominant because of everybody, because they have five players at all times that can shoot the ball. So that's interesting that the money stuff is coming up with them. So we'll see how they are looking moving forward.
Yeah, Boston is a fun one to talk about because going into this process, Boston wasn't a team I was going to be talking about potentially being a team to drop out of the six in the future. But I mean, like you said, every player on that team is so important to them. And if they have to lose Porzingis, if they have to lose Derek White, if they have to lose Drew Holiday potentially due to money, and I doubt they lose all of them, but I mean,
Right,
you can't win in this league with just two dominant players. I think we've seen that. And especially in the West, there's a lot of damn good teams in the play-in. So,
oh my God.
I mean, seeing in the future Boston being there is hard to imagine right now. But if you look at the situation they might be in comparison to some other teams, I think that's realistic. Uh, Detroit, my biggest case for them of why I do think that they're going to be at least a top six seed, barring injury, I'm going to say. I should have said that when I started because any team like Philly coming into the season, they were projected potentially a top three seed. You have Paul George, you
Right.
have Embiid, you have Maxey, you have the core around them. I mean, those rotational players around them. Nobody expected them to be the 13th seed. So, barring injury, I think Detroit's solid. But because they have those young guys, they're only getting better, and they haven't even added a second star yet. So imagine when they do, and it looks like they're not even going to have to gut their team to do it. So, I mean, are there any other teams that you look at that could be the next Detroit in terms of a jump into the top six? It doesn't have to be bottom of the barrel
Right.
East, but is there like a Brooklyn and Atlanta, any of those teams?
But honestly, I am gonna go to the bottom of the barrel
Mm.
because I am irrationally high on the Washington Wizards on
Oh,
what they're building. Not on what they are right now, but what they're building. I like Belil a lot.
yep.
The scoring, I want to see more aggressiveness at all times, but I like Belil. Sar, I think can be just overall a great two-way player. Bob Carrington, I think can he be a go-to scorer in the NBA? I'm not sure, but can he be a good scorer? I think he can be a good scorer. And then Kaishan George is just he's already well defensively he's already good.
Yeah.
Not gonna say he's great or elite, but defensively Kaishan George is already good. So I say this about a lot of teams, admittedly, but if they get Cooper Flag or if they get Dylan Harper or somebody like that, that can I don't know if they obviously they're probably not top six like Detroit because they don't have a Cade Cunningham. But they could do like a Houston Rockets type
Mm.
build where the Rockets last year, 41 and 41 missed the playoffs, and then now they're, catching their stride in the second team in the West. I don't know if it'll be that fast for Washington, but I think that the Wizards are not a team that will be basically trash for the next 5 years. I think Washington will get up out of there.
Y-
Atlanta, we'll see. We'll see what Atlanta does. I do like Ricochet and Jalen Johnson. We'll see what they do with Trey. I don't know if Trey will be there past next year. We'll see.
Yeah, and Trey could be on a different team in the East that shoots him up. Like, let's say he goes to Chicago. I mean, obviously, they don't have a amazing core. They have some good players, but if you put a star like Trey there, you add some other pieces, that could be a team that shoots up. But I really liked your point on Washington because we've given them praise on this channel. I've talked a lot about them in various videos. They have a young core that reminds me a lot of some of the teams that flame out, only because they have all these players that are great compliments. You saw it at the beginning of the year. Not a lot of things meshed. You go into the trade deadline, you add in key veterans who have been around the league, who have had roles, who can play elite basketball at certain points, like Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, and they played well. They've played really well. We saw that in a Detroit loss to Washington. So if you go into the draft and you add a Cooper Flag, you're adding that piece that everyone can kind of now start to form around. And once you're putting players in the roles that they need to succeed, you're going to see success. I mean, we saw it with Detroit in the Troy Weaver era. You got these decent players, and obviously they all needed to fit around Cade Cunningham, but we didn't get to see him play a lot because of injuries. So when you're talking about a young core, you just need to find that nucleus. Your nucleus, that's the center of a cell, right? I'm trying to bring a science. What is it? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I don't know what I'm going on about now. But once you get Cooper Flag, everyone else starts to get set into place, and it's going to work out for them. So they could be a really scary team if you add someone like that.
No, for sure they could. Like you said, Cleveland, they ain't going nowhere. Donovan Mitchell just re-signed for 5 years, and Darius Garland, he still can get better. So Cleveland might be like the team of the future, but I still like Boston. Though. Even if Boston loses, like I think you got to keep Derek White over almost anybody besides Tatum. That might sound blasphemous, but I think that Tatum and White are actually the two most. I don't want to say the most important, but I just feel like if Jaylen Brown wasn't on that team, Tatum could pick up more of a scoring load. I think Tatum is a 30-point scorer in the NBA. And I don't think you can really replicate what Derek White does. Like top of the league perimeter defense, elite rim protection for a guard. I know his 3-point shooting it kind of varies, but when he's on, he's a elite shooter. Now Jaylen Brown gets better. He can step up in the playoffs, not necessarily a riser all the way, but he had a great run last year. The finals was kind of inefficient, but he helped slow down Luka a lot.
Yes.
And he likes to take those one-on-one matchups. But again, though, I do think that Tatum is good enough. Like if you have to lose anybody, obviously you can't lose Tatum, obviously, but I don't think that they want to lose Derek White.
Yeah.
So I think Derek White has to stay for them to keep this run going. He offers just so much for them.
Yeah, and Derek White, would you say is potentially the best case scenario for an Asar Thompson role-wise? They have a little bit of a different skill set, and that's very true, but there's not a player like Derek White, and there's not a player like Asar, so it's kind of like putting a circle into a square hole. But there's something with those two players that just remind me of each other. The athleticism is different, the shot so far is different, but the stability they provide on offense when they have the ball in their hands and the stability on the defensive end as a smaller forward, I don't know. They seem kind of comparable to me.
Yeah, that got me thinking about that Asar chase down today in the Memphis game, like how he came from half court and he chased down G.G. Jackson with the left hand block. That was ridiculous. And I bring that up because Derek White is also just a great chase down artist and a great help side rim protector. But I think that obviously you brought it up. The shooting is the main difference there. Derek White is a premier shooter, especially if he's your third option. If you put him third on the scouting report, I mean he'll kill you from three. So Asar obviously is not there as a shooter, but importance to a team and being that super important role player, I could see that. But I do think Asar has all-star potential if he can put it all together. We say that about a lot of players, but I think like if Asar tightens up the handle, which isn't super easy to do, but tightens up the handle and can be healthy, man. We forget that he came into this. He didn't have an off season this year.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
he always looked gassed. Like we always forget about that. Go ahead.
No, yeah, we saw Cade after his second year where he was hurt all that year, come back, have a really good year in that 14-win season. Then we just saw what he could do with an offseason, a full healthy offseason. All NBA level player, top 10 MVP, number 7, I believe, last on the leaderboard. I mean, an off season can do so much for players. I don't think people think about that enough. People just think they're basketball players. Right when they're healthy, they're going to be 100%. But I mean,
exactly.
We take a lot of that, and we don't really think as fans sometimes.
And like, I hate to I don't really compare our men, but it's just like watching him I just know Asar has that same stuff. He
Yeah.
won't have he won't have the handle, and he won't be the point guard of a team like I think Amen can be. But man, Asar has a lot of point forward stuff in his game already, and that's without the super tight handle. Or sometimes you going 100 miles per hour, he might miss layups, but he's still finishing at a good rate. So when he starts finishing more consistently, we're looking at a guy that can finish like 70% at the rim.
Yeah. And
So
yeah, that's a perfect compliment to Cade. And we're going to be moving on a little bit to talking about the young core. We're going to be ranking the different players in the young core. And what did we have? 7 players?
yep,
8? Actually, I think with Bobby Clintman as a last second addition at the end there. Um, I think getting it started, if we're talking about young cores, there's one player on this team that can be the number one. It's Cade Cunningham. I mean, it's like you're
of course.
talking about the best running back in this next year's NFL draft is Ashton Genty. I mean, there's only one option there. Same thing here. And that's my tie into Dynasty football. I love Dynasty football.
I
Anyways,
love fantasy, so
yeah, it's fun. I'm not going to get too far away from what we're talking about right now, though. I don't know. So number
yeah,
2
for
is the
sure.
biggest thing here. So who do you have number 2 on this list? And
So
real quick before you say that, I don't want anybody to watch this and say, "Oh, you had this player at number 3 or 4 or 5. You must hate them." No, because I love all of these players. I went through this list and said, if we could keep all these players and it would work perfectly, I'd be so happy. But there
right,
has to be an order. There has to be someone to be
no,
one,
for
2,
sure.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and even 8. So, okay, now
Yeah,
on to you.
for me, number two wasn't as difficult. Now, when we get to three, four, and five, I'm actually still not super decided for three, four, and five. I'm still kind of in the air. We'll see how I feel when I start talking about it. But for two, I'm pretty firmly Asar.
Yep, same here.
Um, because I think that, like we said a second ago, like get him a full off season, and I think the sky is the limit. Cause last year he had like monster rebound games. Like didn't he have like 18 rebounds in a
Mm-hmm.
game a few times and
Yeah.
stuff, or like at least once? And we haven't seen that stuff because we haven't got his motor back. And his motor still is good compared to the rest of the players, but relative to himself, he hasn't, got that motor like he had last year. So I think that give him a full off season, man. The finishing, the passing, just the chase down, just everything is gonna get better. And it's just a jump shot right now. He's a jump shot in the offseason away from being an all-star, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, all NBA with what he puts up and how good this team would be with him.
And the defense, like, again, already without the offseason and without the crazy motor that he had last year, I feel like he's already a top 10 at minimum perimeter defender in the NBA.
Oh, I think that's an
At
easy top 10.
minimum. Like I don't wanna forget anybody, but I like guys like Kamara from Portland and his
Mm-hmm.
brother and Dort and Dyson Daniels. He is in that class. He
Yeah.
is in that class, and he's versatile. You guard 1 through 4. We saw tonight that him and Cade kind of took turns guarding Edie
Yeah.
or and guarding Jaren. But now Edie isn't this crazy finisher or this crazy poster like he should be. But some five sometimes Asar can guard a five sometimes. So the versatility, man, I think Asar for me is an easy two. Give him a full offseason, man. It's
Yep.
gonna be crazy.
Number 3, I'll tell you who I have. And I have this one locked in pretty easy because
Okay.
we're talking about motor. When this guy plays to his game, he is potentially number 2. But it's not always happening. That's why I have him at 3. It's Jalen Duren. I mean, he can get you monster rebound games. He can score at will at points. I mean, on the inside, he's phenomenal. From the in the post, he needs some work there, but he shows flashes. But I mean, the biggest thing is his pick and roll duo with Cade Cunningham. I mean, that's something that helps Cade Cunningham and helps this whole team because off of pick and roll, that kind of sets up our offense most of the time. And it doesn't always lead to a Jalen Duren lob. It leads to open guys elsewhere as well. So I'm going to put Jalen Duren at 3.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. He's obviously in the mix for what I had from three, four, and five. Yeah, Duran, I think his biggest thing, like you said, is being a Cade enhancer. He is maybe not the perfect player because he doesn't shoot threes, but just right under perfect, the perfect fit with Cade Cunningham. And like you said, when he's locked in defensively, the way he can get up on the level, the way he can recover, it's just that effort and that motivation. And we're over. He's been playing quote unquote hard for over half the season. So playoffs, I wrote about it earlier in my preview for Detroit Bad Boys, but the playoffs will tell a lot about Duran.
Yes.
Like if he is going against Cat, how do you go against a stretch big like that? But on the other side, it's another stretch big, it's Miles Turner. So that's always been like an Achilles heel from him, guarding those stretch bigs. So we'll see how he fares in the playoff this year. And the offensive rebounding, he is a monster. He is a monster on that glass. And he's not the biggest center either, height wise. I know he's built like Hercules, but he isn't the biggest center. So it's that's heart, that's determination, that's grit, and that's positioning. So yeah, he that's a good one for three. I'm not mad at that.
I'm guessing you have someone different.
Uh, so this is kind of a potential based take. This isn't like right now, I don't think. But reluctantly kind of because we haven't seen it in its full, we haven't seen him blossom yet, but I think I'm gonna go Ron at three.
Oh, I have him at 4. So close.
Yeah. Yeah. Ron, like I always talk about Asar handles being kind of loose. Ron has shown a tighter handle, especially like coming off those dribble handoffs in the transition.
Oh man, yeah.
And as an on-ball defender, they both actually foul too much. That's one of the both of their problems, especially Asar as elite as he is, he fouls a lot. But Ron, he fouls a lot, but he is just so aggressive.
Hmm. Oh,
Like kind of how, yeah, man, kind of how we was talking about Jalen Brown being like taking those matchups, and he enjoyed guarding Luka. He asked for that matchup. I can see Ron doing that.
yeah.
Obviously, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we recently saw lineups with Asar and Ron together where it didn't work at the beginning of the season, or I guess when Asar came back healthy. But there's been a few times, especially when Cade was out, where it worked really well, and you could see kind of the future of what Detroit basketball could be with that athleticism, that running, that defense. I mean, it was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and that's where Asar like kind of the point forward stuff comes in. Like if he can be a point forward at times, and you got Ron on the wing, just flying up and down the court, man, and on the ball, he is just so gritty and so nasty. Not scared. You never have to ask him to be aggressive taking shots. Ron will never be in the game and you like, where Ron at today? Like you gonna know he out there. Whether it's giving up a backdoor cut or whether it's him dunking on people and getting steals and getting in the passing lanes and stuff. So like I said, we haven't seen it materialize yet, but I think Ron has the potential to be, a very good player in this league. A very good player in this league.
Yeah. So who would you say is a little bit further ahead in terms of jump shot? Would you say Asar or Ron?
Ron, I'm so glad you asked that. 'Cause I kind of just forgot to mention that. Ron has already shown some good shooting indicators. Like his floater range shot is actually
Yes.
pretty good.
Mhm.
It's actually good for just the NBA period, not relative to a rookie. It's just good period. The free throw shooting is 76%, so that's not great, but it's not terrible. And he's had games where he had a stretch like early in the year where he was shooting the ball good for a few weeks actually. I know his jump shot percentage has kind of fallen over the last 2 months, but he had a stretch from like October to was it February where each month his jump shot
Mm.
shooting got better. So working with our elite shooting coach that we have here in Detroit, I think that Ron is probably a safer bet to develop into a decent outside shooter over Asar. But Asar has other stuff he can bring to the table, obviously.
Yeah, and with Asar, you're seeing the willingness to pass up on some of those as well. Where if Ron was in that position, he would shoot it. But the thing is, Asar, it's not a detriment to the team when he's passing it up because he's making good decisions, driving in, getting somebody else open, driving in, getting a layup, getting a dunk. I mean, making something happen with it. So okay, right now I have Cade, Asar, Duran, then Ron, and so I think Ron was your 3. So then I'm assuming Duran is your 4.
He is my four, but I kind of switched two players around during this conversation.
That's
So
Let me know. What did you change?
yeah, Duran might be my five actually.
Interesting. Okay.
So And again, this is based off of potential because I don't think that Duran is a finished product, obviously, because I think where he can really his swing skill is kind of that playmaking for others.
Yeah.
He's shown flashes of being able to get the board and go and be at the high post and be a short roller and making good decisions with the ball. So that's kind of his swing skill. But ain't yeah, and he might be my five. He might be my four, maybe.
Yeah, this is a tough one because
Cause
it's easy to switch any of these players because a lot of it's talking about potential and it's so easy to look at all of them and be like, oh, well, if they're this, that's
right.
that's that's great.
Cause I'm going between him and Ivy. Obviously, Ivy's 3-point shooting, the leap he took this year for the limited amount of games he played, I feel like that was sustainable. Because it just for me, every shot he shot felt good from deep.
Yeah.
Me personally. The finishing, I just feel like with that speed and when he develops and keeps growing, he can finish better. Now, defensively, I've been saying this since he got drafted. He has to be a better perimeter defender.
Hmm.
With his build and his role on his team, he cannot be a detriment defensively on the ball. And I do feel like he got a little better this year, but we never got to see good Ivy. Well, we did kind of. It wasn't for a long time, but good Ivy plus good Duran.
Yeah.
Duran improved a lot over the season, defending the rim and stuff like that. So I want to see those two playing good together. But yeah, it's close. I wanna have them as a tie, but I know we got to pick. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna actually go Duran four actually because I'm kind of more confident that his defense can hold up.
Hmm.
And Ivy, I don't know. The jump shooting seemed real, but like I just feel like for the position he's in, he has to be a better defender on the ball. So
Yeah,
I guess I'm gonna go Ivy five.
that's so tough with Ivy because the defense needs to be better, but it's reassuring to think about what you'd be putting around him as well. I mean, that's a big if Duran can keep this up. But let's say you have him at the 5, you have a bigger point guard and Cade at the 1, you have Ivy at the 2. I mean, if somehow you could get Ron and Asar to work, I mean, that can cover up a lot of the lapses there. But obviously, that's asking a lot of ifs. If Duran can do this, if Ron and Asar can fit, if Ivy's shot is real.
Yeah,
So,
if real quick, if that's the lineup, Ivy would have to be, I mean, an elite shooter.
yeah, you'd be lacking
He would
that.
have to, yeah, he would have to be elite if that was the lineup. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the more realistic one would be taking out Ron, putting in Tim Hardaway Jr. or putting in another shooter that's not yet on the roster. But
Right.
for me, I kind of see Ivy, if he's on this team in the future, as kind of a super six man because just because of his skill set. If the jump shot's real, I think then it's a lot easier to put him right at the 2. But I think we've seen the success with even just Tim Hardaway Jr. at the 2. So let's say you get Malik Beasley re-upped this offseason. I think he'd be a really good fit in the starting unit. You'd put Ivy as a 6-man, having a change of pace. And the biggest thing to me is I hate that people think that if you're not a starter, you're a bad player or you're not worth being on the team or you, I mean, think of Manu Ginobili. And that's talking about a legend. It's talking about kind of a one-on-one situation. I mean, he was a guy who played his role and he played it damn well. So I think Jaden Ivey could fit in not like a Manu Ginobili role because it's very different. But I just think that people take starting and being off the bench as too much of an indicator on if you're good or not.
No, that's a good point. That's a great point. I think one thing that goes into that though is like when players want to get paid,
Mm,
sometimes you kind of get lowball as a six man. So I think that that might be that's a part of why players kind of don't want that attached to their name. And Ivy hasn't gotten that big payday yet. But that is a good point though about his game. His game as a supercharged six man coming off the bench and you can go out there and take all the shots you want to take when you get in the game. That is, might not be what he wants, but that's not a crazy idea though. I can see it, especially if he cannot become a plus perimeter defender playing off of K. Like if he was a number one option and he was, the guy on the team, yeah, you can afford to be surrounded by great defenders and cover up for you, but you are a part of the help.
yeah. Yeah,
So
and
I
even
feel
with
like you got to, yeah,
yeah, and even with Cade, he's one of those guys who, I mean, I think when he's at his best, is there's another elite scorer next to him. So I think that's where you kind of get Ivy. You give him grace there as the starting two because I mean, Cade's a guy who can score you 35, but I think it's a little bit easier for him when he's getting 15 assists and has 25 points. So
right.
it's something we just haven't been able to see in their whole careers because either one of them's been hurt or it's just been inconsistent when we saw them.
Or
So
is Monty Williams just inexplicably having Ivy come off the bench? Now, in a winning situation, I get, but Killian Hayes, I never got. And I think I
yeah,
might have said it. I might have said it my first time coming on here. I've never been a Killian Hayes hater. I always thought that he could be a competent backup. But when he started over Ivy for those games, I was just so confused as a casual looking in, on the outside looking in. So that was crazy.
yeah, that's a situation that I completely
Yeah,
forgot of. I mean, it's so easy to forget that Killian was on this team just a year ago.
I know, real Pistons fans, you guys do not want to remember any of those times, so I get that too.
Not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but I was a huge Killian fan, and that was kind of my guy when he was drafted. I said, no matter who we draft here, I'm going to love him because it's going to be the future point guard of the team. That didn't work out. I have so much Killian Hayes memorabilia in terms of sports cards. I'm a big sports card collector. A lot of autographs. I have a jersey, signed picture somewhere around this basement. So
Oh man, you all the way
it's
bought in.
I bought in, man. I spent a lot of money on that stuff thinking, you know what? This stuff's cheap. I'm going to be able to sell it for a profit. Uh, I probably couldn't make any money on it right now. Anyways, okay, getting to the rest of the list, I think it's pretty straightforward because those top, what was it, five?
Yeah,
You can kind of put 2 through 5 in any order. I think Asar's kind of locking himself into that too, so maybe you could say 3 through 5 in any order. And I'm surprised that we had Ron pretty high, and I feel like a lot of people haven't gotten to that point yet. So I'm happy
hmm
about that. I'll say. The next three on my list, we're going to kind of speed through these because we're running out of time a little bit. I had Stu, then Sasser, then Bobby Clintman. Was
Oh
that
yeah,
same for
that's
you?
that's that's what I had. I will say, Sasser has the kind of game where he can just check in the playoff and win you a random playoff game.
Yes. Yeah.
He's that kind of guy.
You have those guys on every single team, and you hear about these hero stories from these guys, these Cinderella story players. And Sasser easily, if someone gets a cramp and has to leave for a quarter or two, you put him in, he's going to score you buckets. I mean,
He is
he's built for the
confident.
playoffs.
He is confident, man. He is a no fear shot taker, and obviously, he might check in and he might give up 10 points.
Yeah.
It's a wide thing with him. So, but I like him though. He's cool.
Yeah, and going back on Stu a little bit, Stu was it took me a little bit to rank him this low. And my thought process on this one is we're talking about the first five, you have all that potential. But with Stu, we kind of know what he is at this point. There's
hmm
obviously little things he could get better at, but we know he's a decent 3-point shooter. We know he's an elite defender. We know he's not going to do too much on offense, but we
Right.
know what he brings. So it's talking about the known versus the unknown because there's probably some people who would say, well, with Ron, we've barely saw it. We saw flashes. Maybe you'd put Stu over him. And I think there's some situations where I could think of and I could talk myself into putting Stu above an Ivy, above a Ron, just because of what we know. The smart me knows, well, but if Ivy or Ron hit their ceilings or even hit close to, it's way above anything that Isaiah Stewart can provide you. I mean, we're seeing it with
It's,
what he's paid. He's kind of, I mean, Stu's kind of, everyone thought he was overpaid at the time. I would say with what he's providing, everyone's kind of pretty happy with that at this
oh yeah,
point.
especially
But,
especially with the market continuing to go up
yep.
and stuff. But I man, I love Stu so much. I love Stu so much. I remember arguing with people on TikTok, just from the outside looking in, like, so the Pistons fan, he would always DM me like, "You still like Isaiah Stewart?" Just during like the losing streak, I'm like, "Yes, I
Yeah.
love him. Like, he is the type of guy that sets a culture. He's the type of teammate when you go on the court, you feel safe with." And I'm not even talking about the antics and stuff. I just remember being in high school having this teammate, and I just remember going out there like, "I know you got my back, bro. Like, you always gonna be there for me, and you know you gonna hold it down." I feel like Stu is that type of player on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, he knocked down two threes today, and that's his swing skill. If he can actually become a 35% three-point shooter that actually forces teams to come guard him. Now I know this year he's not attempting a lot, but I don't know. The shot looks good. The
Yeah.
shot looks good. And defensively, he is like if he played like on a permanent basis, it's not too many rim protectors better than him.
Yeah.
He is an animal at the rim.
One player I kind of want to comp him to, and I know there's a little bit of differences there, but I mean, is PJ Tucker. You're talking about a guy who can guard the best big on the court, it being a little bit undersized. PJ Tucker had the jump shot, so it's like what you're talking about with the swing skill. But I could definitely see Isaiah Stewart having that kind of role in the league, and hopefully he's not a journeyman like PJ Tucker. Hopefully he stays in Detroit.
Please, man. Like when the Pistons actually win it all, I want him to be a part of it.
Yep, that'd be like one of the most the perfect endings to a sports team championship. Like you're talking about some of the best players in Detroit history, he won't be on that list. But if you're talking about the most iconic, he's there.
Man, remember during the fight, obviously, when he was Detroit on his chest, like man,
Yep,
that dude, right, he hold it down, man. He hold it down.
I love Stu. Um, okay, we talked a little bit about the playoffs a little bit earlier. We talked about what Isaiah Stewart could bring in the playoffs. We talked about what Marcus Sasser could bring in the playoffs. We talked about what Duran has struggles with these bigger bigger centers that can also stretch the floor. So Knicks or Pacers, it's going to be one of those two teams at this point. Who do you want the Pistons to play? And I think some people have a consensus here.
Yep. And I've been going back and forth on this like all week, man. And I know that the Pistons played better against the Knicks this year in the regular season. But as we all know, the playoffs and regular season are way different. Now, honestly, I don't think the Pistons will be favored in either series. They could be either team, but I wouldn't really bet a lot of money because I respect the Pacers and the Knicks a lot. But I'm gonna slightly go Indiana, and here's why. I think that yes, you can attack Brunson and Cat in a playoff series. They have more holes than Indiana does because Tyrese isn't a great defender, but he's better than Brunson, and he's not as undersized. He got quick hands, high IQ, and Miles Turner is better than Cat as a defensive big. But I think that the star power of the Knicks in a playoff series will shine very bright. And not even just Brunson and Cat. I mean defensively with Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, how the Pistons really have Cade as a primary ball handler and, Schroeder coming in off the bench, Asar handling it sometimes. But I do think that a lineup with those three guys can really cause some damage in a series against the Pistons. I think OG would be a nightmare defensively in that series. Now on the other hand, the Knicks defense has been better as of late because Bronson has been out. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but
Mm-hmm.
Brunson offensively, like last year against Philly and against the Pacers, didn't he have like 40-point games or something?
It was something
He
crazy.
yeah, he can be a monster in the playoffs, scoring wise, and we've seen Cat had a good he had a good playoff last year too offensively. So Indiana, I respect him a lot. Halliburton, I know he get a lot of hate, but Halliburton has been incredible since the All Star break. Siakam brings a lot of playoff experience. Nimhard, Neesmith, they can guard. So I respect those guys, but I just think that when the game slowed down, the Pistons and the Pacers want to play fast. The Knicks already play a slow brand of basketball, so when the game slows down, the Knicks are kind of already in playoff mode. So the Pistons and Pacers will have to adjust to that low possession game. And I think Cade has a better chance to be the best player in the series against the Pacers.
Hmm.
He could do it against the Knicks too. He could outplay Brunson for sure. But I think against the Pacers, I think it's kind of likely he'd be the best player in the series. And when you got the best player in the series, you always got a chance. So I'm gonna slightly lean Indiana, even though I think that both teams present a lot of challenges for the Pistons.
That's a tough one because you said double-edged sword in a different um, in a different way, but we're talking about Knicks pure defense with a little bit of offense, or I guess a bit if you're talking about Brunson. But you're talking about Indiana with a lot of offense and then not as much defense. So if we're Detroit, what do you want to go against? I mean, you're a defensive team. Do you want the grit and grind battle? But at the same time, you are fast. The second best fast break team in the NBA. So you could go up against Indiana. So do you think you could win in a grit and grind match or an absolute firefight? I think that's kind of what it comes down to. So
And yet,
I'm unsold with which one I want yet. If I were to just kind of say right now, I'd say New York. But at the same time, I know Detroit does have their half-court issues. I think you'd have to see a lot of Schroeder with Cade, especially on those Cade traps, because then you get it to Schroeder. He makes a quick decision while there's an advantage. But you're relying a lot on unproven at that point. And I think when you're going against Indiana, you can take advantage of the unprovenness and the youngness of the team with how fast you can run and how you can get out on the break. So that I go back and forth on this all the time.
oh yeah, it's so tough, man. Because either way, the Pistons got to make shots. 'Cause like you said, they are gonna blitz Cade. Both teams. It don't matter who the Pistons go against in the playoffs. Everybody's gonna blitz Cade because they want Asar, Duran, Beasley, Hardaway. You guys make decisions. You guys beat us. So, oh man, they got to make shots because there's gonna be a lot of wide open opportunities, or they got to get in position to get better shots. But the Pacers, though, man, they play with this. They play with this anybody can thrive type of mentality as a team. Like, of course, Siakam is the go-to scorer. Proven playoff. He's a champ, proven playoff player. But Benedict Mathurin, he can go off. He didn't play last year in the playoffs, so he hungry and starving for the playoffs this year. He can go off for a 25-point game. Neesmith can get hot from the corners. Nembhard hasn't really shot the ball that well from three this year, but he proved last year he can be a playoff threat. He destroyed the Knicks, shot like 52% against those guys. So
you have Toppin
it's
as well.
tough. Toppin, it's tough, man. Turner will be stretching out Duran and Stu, him and Cat. So it's tough. But the Knicks play that slow brand of basketball. They play so slow and so. It's gonna be physical with Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, man. And I just kind of worry about. I kind of worry about the other quote unquote ball handlers for Detroit, how they would handle that pressure. And Cade's turnover problem hasn't really been a thing. Obviously, he hasn't played since tonight was his first game in a minute, but the turnovers against like New York with like the on ball turnovers, like OG kind of pickpocketing or Mikal using that crazy wingspan. So I just think that the star power in New York, offensively with Brunson and Cat, and defensively with those three wings, that's kind of why I lean Indiana a little bit.
Well, not many games left, Brennan. I mean, we're talking about less than 2 weeks at this point till the playoffs. So we're going to get a good idea of who the Pistons are playing pretty dang soon. So we're going to have you back on soon. We're going to be talking a lot more about Pistons playoff matchups, what there is to lose the rest of the season. I mean, it's not a lot. We're locked into the top 6. But we're going to have a good time talking about that kind of stuff. Brennan, great having you on. What kind of stuff have you been working on?
Yeah, man. Still working on Heat content. Those guys are, will they make the playoffs? Who knows? They're kind of locked in at that 9 or 10th seed, so they'll be playing Chicago either in Miami or in Chicago, most likely. Who knows? Doing a lot of writing for them. Still writing for the Pistons at Detroit Bad Boys through SB Nation, and still writing at NBA Fansided. On NBA Fansided, I'll be doing a lot of playoff matchup things, like things I noticed, like the Knicks. I'm going to probably talk about Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson, that double big lineup. Will they use that in the playoffs? Who knows? I think that lineup will give them more defense, but it might hurt them offensively. So, weighing the pros and cons, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's where I'll be most active, trying to, cover the whole league from now until, probably June to the end of the playoffs. But this regular season has went by so fast.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Crazy.
We will have all of your links in the description like we have in the other videos. Make sure you check that stuff out. Make sure you comment what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with. If you hated our young core rankings. Let us know. I'd love to hear it. Love to chat about it in the comments. But we'll be back with more Pistons content soon. See you later.